To truly understand how this is ending, the night and day difference between Vice President Kamala Harris and Trump, just look at how the two candidates are spending the final hours of the 2024 presidential campaign. At her rally Sunday night in Michigan, the vice president did not say his name. She did not mention Donald Trump at all. And frankly, at this point, she didn't have to. Her call for a, quote, new way forward and her message of unity is a clear contrast to the ex-president. Watch.
Here's what everyone here knows. When you know what you stand for, you know what to fight for. And we have an opportunity in this election to finally turn the page on a decade of politics driven by fear and division. We are done with that, and we are exhausted with it. And America is ready. America is ready for a fresh start, ready for a new way forward, where we see our fellow American not as an enemy, but as a neighbor. We are ready for a president who knows that the true measure of a leader is not based on who you beat down, it is based on who you lift up.
We'll hear from the vice president at an event in Allentown, Pennsylvania. In a few minutes, we'll bring you those remarks live when they happen. Her message right now is aimed at and highlights this coalition she's built. It's an extraordinary one that gets larger and more diverse by the moment, from Dick and Liz Cheney to LeBron James and a growing swath of superstars from the world of sports, a small army of celebrities as well. One of the latest celebrity endorsements from Harrison Ford. Here he is explaining why Kamala Harris has built the broadest coalition in modern American politics.
For many of them, this will be the first time they've ever voted for someone who doesn't have an R next to their name, because they know this really matters. The truth is this: Kamala Harris will protect your right to disagree with her about policies or ideas, and then, as we have done for centuries, we'll debate them. We'll work on them together, and we'll move forward.
Less than a day to go, and all of the things that we turn to as indicators of momentum do appear today to be on the side of Team Harris. The campaign in its late days has been rocketed by a poll that shows the vice president up 3 in, wait for it, Iowa. The poll comes from a gold standard pollster, Jay Ann Selzer. She's respected by both Republicans and Democrats. Just ask Donald Trump.
They have a great pollster, actually. Very powerful pollster, very good, talented pollster.
That was him talking about Ann Selzer. It was less than a year ago. But now confronted with a piece of news that underscores the distinct possibility of defeat even in Iowa, Trump is resorting to what Trump always does, dismissing it as fake.
They just announced a fake poll. Hey, think of it. Right before the election, that I'm 3 points down. I'm not down in Iowa.
All this brings us to option number 2, that which lies behind curtain number 2, what's happening at Trump's rallies, which, by the way, are not nearly as well attended as they once were. Our colleague, reporter Vaughn Hilliard, reports that enthusiasm and crowds have waned significantly in recent weeks. A Trump rally this morning in North Carolina was only at about 70% capacity. But when Trump is not dismissing polls that are bad for him as fake, priming his supporters to reject the results if Donald Trump loses, when he's not doing that, he's musing about shooting journalists.
I have a piece of glass over here, and I don't have a piece of glass there. And I have this piece of glass here, but all we have really over here is the fake news, right? And to get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much, because I don't mind that.
I don't mind someone shooting through the fake news. Curtain number 2. So when he's not talking about that stuff or the dictator on day one stuff, the candidate is telling the world something that a lot of people feared last time. He's saying it out loud now. He never should have left the White House after he lost the first time. Watch.
The day that I left, I shouldn't have left. I mean, honestly, because we did so well.
He shouldn't have left. He did not do so well. I mean, he did fine. He just didn't win. He lost the last election by more than 7 million votes. He lost the Electoral College soundly and then attempted a coup for which he currently faces criminal charges. It's just one of many, many reasons why, as Liz Cheney put it today, there is, quote, only one serious, responsible adult in the race. Listen to her.
It's not a race where we have the luxury of being able, sometimes conservatives will say, well, I'm going to write in an alternative. I'm not going to vote for Trump, but I'm going to write somebody in. And I want to make sure people all across the country understand you don't have that luxury. We have to defeat him. And I can't tell you how proud I was to fill in that, circle next to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Wow, let that sink in. Liz Cheney getting emotional, talking about filling in the circle next to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I feel you, sister. A dark and dour wannabe autocrat, Donald Trump, who today, hours ahead of Election Day, stands in the starkest contrast ever to this very diverse, very sunny and positive message from Vice President Kamala Harris, assembling and showcasing her bipartisan coalition on the eve of the 2024 election is where we start today.